Do you ever see a pilot or a really good show and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I want this to happen. This needs to happen. And then you wait and it doesn't happen? Look, the animation industry's cutthroat and cold, okay? This is a dog-eat-dog world out here. Even if a pilot does get greenlit and produced into a full show, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be successful, and we've seen tons of great shows canceled too soon. But usually, if there's a pilot or short that really stands out and is so blatantly impressive that it manages to build a fan base around it instantly, then it can go on to have an incredible run. We see it happen all the time, recently with Infinity Train. But today I want to talk about the pilots and shorts that should be greenlit. These can be old or recent, but one thing stands true: these deserve to be made into full series. So guys, without further ado, I'm going to share with you some exciting pilots and animated shorts that I know deserve a full series, and hopefully you do too. And where better to start this list than with one of the most slept on animated pilots of all time, AJs Infinite Summer. Now, you may have seen this short before. It actually is a few years old at this point, but if not, you definitely need to. One thing that I really admire about Cartoon Network is that it always puts its pilots and shorts online, whether or not they're going to be made into full series. And I understand this might be like an industry move to kind of gauge audiences' reactions before giving it a full green light. I mean, if you remember, Adventure Time short went viral before that got picked up by anybody. It's just a tried and true method. And in my opinion, people passed on this one too fast. So the original pilot focused on AJ and his two friends Danny and Morgan, as AJ tries to spend his summer as spontaneously as possible. In this specific short, it follows AJ getting a job at a corporate office. There's an infinitely hilarious giant suit. My favorite character by far is AJ's dad, and I won't describe the whole short for you. If this sounds interesting, definitely check it out. It's on YouTube. The short was made by Toby Jones of Regular Show and OKKO fame, and you can definitely tell. I mean, there's like no other brain this could have came out of. And in my opinion, this short was just delightful and fun. It's got that same absurd charm that was so prominent in shows like Regular Show and OKKO, while also being a fresh concept. But as great as this short is, I actually don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, because instead, I want to focus on something that came after the pilot. More specifically, the incredible self-produced storyboard that Toby Jones dropped on his YouTube channel as a lost episode. Look, if you saw AJ's Infinite Summer and you were like, this is pretty cool, but I'm not that impressed, then you need to watch the storyboard because it kicks it to 11. The entire thing is a roller coaster. From start to finish, I was completely engrossed because it was just so absurd and wonderful. You truly have no idea where they're going, and then they go in a completely different direction, and you're just along for the ride. I love it. The episode itself actually focuses on AJ's relationship with his dad, after AJ gets mutant powers and joins his dad's football team. The strongest part is just how unconventional all of this is. AJ gets superpowers because he goes to meet his friends at the spa, but mistakenly goes to a toxic waste dump. That's the best superhero origin story ever. And if you look at AJ's Infinite Summer and say, it doesn't sound like there's a lot going on plot-wise, that's okay. There really isn't. The simplicity of the premise works because it's just a vehicle for delightful absurdity. It's not too complicated. It's just a really fun watch. There are very few things that I watch and immediately want more of, and this is one of them. In a way that I didn't even expect. It's just a hilarious one-off show, and although I want to see more of AJ and his friends, I really just want to see more of this style of comedy and storytelling. At the very least, just give this man a show, please. And I think we need more funny one-off shows like this where the stakes aren't too high, but this thing is so packed to the brim with comedy that you literally cannot watch it and not laugh once. The jokes completely caught me off guard every single time. There's visual gags. It's just, I love it. And it's just on YouTube right now. If this was made into a full series, I really feel like it would find an audience because a lot of people love this style of storytelling. And it's not like Toby isn't trying. He's pushing this thing hard. Good on him. Hopefully we get to see AJ Summer one day. Up next is the more recent pilot, Trick Moon. This is another Cartoon Network animated short made by the talented Geneva Hudson, who previously worked on OKKO as a supervising artist and storyboard director. And you can definitely tell with the style. The strongest part of Trick Moon, in my opinion, is just like the plot of it. Pocket and Trickshot are siblings who have to protect the Moonstone, which also holds the soul of their prince older brother, its previous protector, as evil forces constantly try to steal it. It's kind of heavy because if they lose the Moonstone, they also lose a family member. That's not good. That's bad. But the problem arises when Pocket and Trickshot are just slacker children. They don't have the responsibility to take care of something so powerful. So what ends up happening is their brother coaches them from inside of the Moonstone themselves. It's a really great dynamic, and honestly, I love watching the scenarios play out. It's a really interesting premise and leads to some pretty great scenarios. Because while it seems like a fantasy story on the surface, underneath it all, it touches on the actual human reality of sibling relationships and sibling dynamics, which is something I really don't see a lot of. It doesn't help that their older brother Prince is the opposite of them in terms of being like the most responsible person ever. So they often butt heads, but usually their hijinks end up saving them in the end, even if they got them into the problem in the first place. Trick Moon pulls heavy from the video game Saturday morning cartoon aesthetic in the best way. It's bright, it's colorful, it's fun to watch. You'll smile the entire time. And I think that's how it gets away with its simplistic premise, because the pilot sets up a situation that's basically they guard the Moonstone and somebody evil tries to take it, which is very Saturday morning-y, but it's a love letter if anything, and it works perfectly. Speaking of evil, did I mention villains yet? This show has like the best villains ever. Now there's the big baddie, Dr. Blake. Okay, he's scary, right? But his minion mage is what's really interesting. this short alluded pretty heavily to his past being more complicated than it seems, having ties to the trio, specifically their older brother. I hope they explore this further, which is another reason why I hope this goes on to be something more than just a short, because deeper villain stories are infinitely interesting. And in my opinion, we just need more cartoons like this right now. Now, if this is going to work as a full series, obviously I feel like they'd have to expand some aspects of it. But it just feels very fresh and original, and most importantly, you can tell how much effort was put into it. Everything from the animation, to the color choices, to the voice acting, which is some of my favorite voice acting I've heard in such a long time. Seriously, Pocket and Trickshot have the most adorable voices ever. I could hear them talk for hours. Trick Moon is relatively new, but it still has a lot of fan support right now. A ton of fan art, and people online are really engaging with it, so hopefully we see where this goes. I will definitely be looking forward to seeing what happens. Next up, I'm going to be a little biased here. This is the one that I'm most excited for. I am talking, of course, about Smiling Friends. Now, the jury's out on if this is happening or not, or if this could happen. Same with all of these other pilots, but I just need Smiling Friends in my life. If you're a fan of animation, have been on the internet, you might have seen or heard of this pilot. I mean, it kind of made waves. It's like the best thing they could have possibly made. The show is a simple and strange premise of a company that tries to make people feel better called the Smiling Friends. They just try to make people smile. That's such a good idea. Like, there's so many places they could go with that. And their office is literally just a smiling face. It's beautiful. I'm used to these two making weird content, okay, that has like no plot. So seeing this short that is pretty much grounded and had like a B plot and different characters they introduced, along with a typical television sitcom structure, I got super excited. They got Mike from Red Letter Media, literally. I guess I should talk about what happened specifically in the pilot if you haven't seen it somehow. Basically, the Smiling Friends get hired to help a guy who's trying to kill himself. He literally has a gun to his head the entire short. All the while, there's a B plot about their coworker Ellen losing his cheese and going to investigate. Both plots get really dark. The two characters, Charlie and Pim, are both voiced by the two creators respectively, which shows even more that this is just a passion project. And honestly, I love their dynamic so much. Charlie doesn't really care about his job, while Pim really cares about his job and is sort of naively happy, although he ends up getting crushed by the stark reality of life in the end. Look, I could talk about this short and how it works, or you could just watch it. But it's like some of the funniest 11 minutes of animation I've seen in a while. It's disturbing and it's dark. There's a scene where their boss is breastfeeding, like this creepy baby thing. It's so perfect. But the reason I'm so excited about it is because these are all internet personalities. These are all internet animators. And I've been waiting years for these people to get their recognition in traditional animation. The fact that they got Mike from Red Letter Media to voice a character is just so exciting. All these people that we watch all the time, that we love, are getting their individual chances to go on and do this stuff professionally. Smiling Friends will be a success if they greenlight it. They need to. I don't know if they have. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I'm a little weary because Michael literally has another show coming out, so I don't know if he's like super loaded up or he chose to make one over the other. I cannot weigh in. Not in the industry. But outside looking in, I know this show's a no-brainer to make. And when it came out, it went pretty viral. A lot of people were talking about it. Because these people already have their fan bases online. There's a built-in audience here. This came out last April, so it's still super recent, but I've heard reports that they're actually still airing it randomly on Adult Swim, along with Bushworld Adventures. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe they're testing out the waters a little bit. I don't know what the future holds, but fingers crossed. Now, Smiling Friends is pretty dark, but up next I want to talk about a lighter short, Beetle and Bean. This show is just straight up cute. Another recent Cartoon Network pilot. This short I have the least amount of information on. From the intro, it looks like Bean just crashed down on this planet, which I don't know if it's Earth. I actually have no idea what's going on, but I love it and it's beautiful. Oh, well, you know what? It's a beetle. I'm so dumb. So it's really just about a bean and a beetle, which is absolutely adorable. The pilot itself follows Bean having an identity crisis after realizing that they don't want to garden like Beetle, so they decide they're going to be a knight, and they wear little knight armor. The best part of the show is just their cute dynamic. Beetle tries to take care of Bean, but Bean is super strong-willed and tough and knows what they want. So many things I love about this show, from just how it looks to how genuinely adorable Bean is. I can watch Bean for hours. And it's also genuinely really funny. There's so many moments that snuck up on me, so many lines that made me laugh. It's just a cute, fun show. I'm not sure how it would work as a full series, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. It feels like it could be very apple and onion. It'd be episodic for sure, but again, those are great to have. And it's definitely something I'd throw on when I was sad, because the real world is very dark. I'm so confused and intrigued in the best way. Like, what are these things? What are they doing? It's just a forest, I guess. Everything is cute in this show. That's all I have to say. Please make it happen. Back to the world of adult animation, we have something that's not a short or a pilot, but a fully produced web series. I'm talking, of course, about the criminally underrated Sublow and Tangy Mustard. Now look, I didn't even know about this show at first, okay? Osric Vox showed it to me, and my life was changed forever. We binged the whole thing pretty much. This show is the product of the talented Aaron Long, who pretty much makes the entire thing himself and has been for years. Now Aaron actually got his start making online shorts, but that was just how he got discovered, and he actually has been killing it in the industry, serving as a director on BoJack, working on some of the best episodes of the show. And if you like BoJack, then Sublo and Tangy Mustard is right up your alley. The show's goofy name is very deceiving, as the show actually follows the misadventures of two fast food mascots who take their jobs very seriously. The joke is basically that they never take off their costumes, partly because their boss is always watching them, but also partly because they're just like good employees. I don't know, couldn't be me. But the show is actually a really depressingly realistic view of what it's like working a minimum wage job, living in a city and trying to chase your dreams. And this isn't even told through Sublow or Tangy Mustard. Again, we don't even know their real names, but instead through their co-worker Katie, who's actually the arc of this overall show. We watch her chase her art careers, battle with alcoholism. Some episodes range from minute-long gags to basically short films, but they're always interesting. And I just love this animation style. It's so low-key, but also impressive at the same time. Like, it looks like somebody animated it all themselves, but that they did it really well. And I love the character design, specifically Sublow's roommate. I just love how he looks. Look at that. He's just, oh my gosh. And the theme song slaps. Oh my god. I've been humming this theme song. Literally, I've been humming it since I watched the show. In fact, it's been playing in my head since I started talking about it. There's so many good and interesting characters. Like, I'm in love with her boss. This is just the most criminally underrated thing ever made. I'm giving it that title. I don't care what anyone says. So I'm kind of torn because I would love to see this picked up and produced into a full show. Maybe for a studio to get a hold of it. Maybe Netflix, BoJack, I don't know. But in reality, it already exists and it's already out there. It's still being produced. I don't think he's stopping anytime soon. In fact, he's detailed the entire process from the voice acting to the animating and writing. It's all on his YouTube and it's all super impressive. The real sentiment I want to give with this segment is give Aaron Long a cartoon. This man is a jack of all trades. He's doing it all himself and he's killing it. He's like discovered, undiscovered talent. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but this guy needs to get a show stat. Like, it's just the law. Like, that's all I can say. I'll watch anything this man produces and I will go to the ends of the earth to spread the word about this show because it's just so impressive. This is just raw passion and talent, and you can tell. And this would work so well as a full series because BoJack proved there's already an audience for surreal looking animation that covers realistically dark human problems. And that's what Sublow and Tangy Mustard does so well as just being funny and fun to watch. So watch it. Aaron Long, I'm rooting for you. And lastly, I want to talk about something that isn't new. In fact, it's too old at this point. Galactic Kids Next Door. If you remember what happened in 2015, it was a whole event. It all started when a mysterious Rainbow Monkeys website popped up, and people soon realized there was more behind the scenes, eventually leading to a countdown and an animatic of a brand new Kids Next Door series. Now, this is all detailed on Tom Warburton's Tumblr. Definitely check it out. It's a super interesting read. But basically, this entire thing was a guerrilla pitch to try to get a Kids Next Door reboot. A fake website led to a real animatic with the original voice actors, made by Mr. Warburton himself, along with others. He did this with no promise of a reboot and zero funding, saying that he made it because it would be fun and just to see what would happen. And what happened was there was an outpouring of fan support. This was huge. Everybody was talking about it on all social medias. Everybody wanted this, and it's not just because they decided to reboot Kids Next Door. This animatic is insanely impressive. The entire animatic being Nigel deciding whether or not to destroy the Earth because the adult infestation had gone too far, trying to prove his allegiance to the Galactic Kids Next Door. This is a lot darker than where they left us in the series with that hopeful ending. Now, Kids Next Door already had a pretty crazy lore, and they established that adulthood was pretty much a disease. I hear that. In fact, what made the show so great was just how crazy in-depth the lore was, and like the Kids Next Door as a whole, as goofy as the premise seemed. And this looked like the perfect continuation of that. On top of that, it looked a lot darker, and quite frankly, super interesting. Like a perfect progression for the series. It also dropped some pretty bombshell news, like some of our favorite characters actually being aliens. The whole thing was insane. He basically described it as writing fan fiction about Kids Next Door, which it kind of feels like, but it's canon, I think, because it's from the creator. The whole clip was as ambiguous as it was intriguing, and we even got another animatic with more original voice actors after the first one got leaked, and that one gave us number 3 swearing, which is something I thought I'd never see. But seriously, this whole pitch was so in-depth, and there was so much effort put into it. They literally invented their own alien language. So here they were with this successful project, a massive outpouring of fan support, even an online petition, and CN never took the bait. They flat out just said no. Now I kind of get that back then maybe this might not have been the move. And the television industry is very complicated. It's an industry. They can't just decide to snap their fingers and make a show happen. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because if there was ever a time, it's now. We are living in the age of nostalgia. Things are getting reboots constantly to much success. I mean, recently we had Samurai Jack finally get an ending. There's just a huge demand for nostalgia, and cartoon reboots are happening more than they ever have before. So if nostalgia is successful, and the demand is there, and the passion is there, it seems like the perfect recipe for this to finally happen. As of now, this is all just sitting there. And it's not like everyone just moved on. If you go on the video they posted, people are still commenting as recently as days ago. Somebody even asked if people came here from TikTok. Galactic Kids Next Door is a gold mine. The things the series could explore, the places they could go. I mean, you're literally really just be kids next door in space. On top of the fact that they basically made #1 a villain, I'd love to see where they take this. And plot-heavy animation is more popular than ever, even if it's just a mini-series. I'd love to see what this could become if given the time and potential, especially with all the new streaming platforms. This would work so well on something like HBO Max, and again, it has a built-in audience. It just feels like a no-brainer to me. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. And that's kind of the sentiment for all of these, right? No matter what the future is of any of these shorts or pilots, they all stand on their own as incredible pieces of animation. And most of all, they're exciting and refreshing. The future of animation looks hopeful. I just hope these things are in it. But as always, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Have you seen these shorts and pilots? Have you not? Listen in those comments down below or tweet to us at Roundtable Vids or me at @RetroNemo. If you want to consider helping out the Roundtable, you can become a member of the channel or support us on Patreon to get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content. Guys, I'm Nemo. This is a cartoon pilot discussion, and I will see you next time. Peace.